these assets have never been released before. The only time that they came into the purview of this earth was in 1959 and 1960. But even from that time onwards, there were too many violent clashes internally between the various groups who were for conducting redemption and the other groups against conducting redemption. Because the heritage accounts, historical accounts that are normally there in all the global banks are meant to be utilized together with these boxes, you know, whether it's TOV boxes, FRBs, FRNs, so Kobe Sona boxes, the farmers bond boxes, the super perpetually boxes, the Liberty bond boxes, the black coffin boxes, or the blue Bible,
Trumpet.
you know, the trumpet boxes, and there are many, many units. This challenge was taken up by TOV Capital at a time many years ago when very few people understood what to do with these boxes, how to do the settlement. So taking TOV Capital as an example, ever since TOV Capital introduced it to me personally, and I have gone and seen the boxes, of course, in the office and at Datu Zari's residence premises, which have been converted into the US Capitol. Well, it's a very special SKR location. We can do that. Now, where does US Capitol fit into the picture? US Capitol is a AAA bank and in good standing, in operation since 1979. And prior to that, also US Capitol has existed, but as different corporate entities. Currently, US Capitol is acknowledged as the world's largest trust, custodial trust bank. And already it is a major shareholder in 17 prime banks. 17 prime banks, including HSBC being number one, and there are many other banks. US Capitol is very, very strongly backed up by cash and gold. One of the reasons that we involved the US Capitol together with the International Court system. International Court is the IPCC, International Criminal Court, ICC, and the International Court of Justice, ICJ, and other Supreme Courts or High Court tribunals are interlinked with the function carried out by the US Capitol Private Bank. It is very important to understand one thing about redemption. If any party tries to take these units to any bank, the bankers don't know what to do. The bankers will at best suggest a security company, and you can go and deposit into the security company of the bank. But the bankers are not prepared to take any position on these historical heritage assets or claim that they can redeem because they have not been granted the redemption license. US Capitol Private Bank has been granted the redemption license and a bank license, which is interlinked with my special Federal Reserve Board, special judicial judge, and Sovereign Royal Imperial Attorney General for the courthouses. That license is very, very important because it is referred to as the redemption court license. And since this has been granted to US Capitol based on very solid fundamentals, the fundamentals is that the US Capitol Private Bank is today one of the largest banks which is also co-owning two very major gold bunkers. The bunkers are called the global bunker, and those bunkers have really very phenomenal gold assets, platinum assets, silver assets, diamonds, rubies, and many other treasures, you know, that is not part of the world awareness. It is known to the central banks, it is known to the treasury bureaus, it is known to the US Treasury also. And US Capital, when we receive the assets under the US Capital, it is with a view that we will use these boxes, we will contemplate, or we will conjecture what is the estimated value of each and every box or offering. We will do a fully integrated credit and cash revaluation on the antiquity or the historical genuineness of these boxes, together with determining the exact ownership, the exact mandate to use these boxes. We also supplant these units, these boxes, redemption articles, with a proper gold backup confirmation letter. The gold backup confirmation letter is granted by the US Capital Private Bank to any parties that may be holding the boxes, or to the banks, or to the other banks which are involved in the transactional modalities. Now, when we are able to mix and match three fundamental things: the box and the serial number on every box. That serial number is linked with special heritage and historical accounts posted in many international banks worldwide, and registered in the Federal Reserve System, registered in the US Treasury System, number one. Thereafter, it's registered in various central banks. Number two is the ability to discern the accounts, to check on certain mainframes the original accounts that were created in the 1910, 1920s, 1930s, 1940s and onwards. Those accounts and spreadsheets are still available to us. So, in trying to determine any box unit, anything, we look at whether the boxes are linked with any gold bunker, any gold warehouse. And if it turns out that the gold bunkers that we have within US Capital, under our care, under our custodial guardianship, or as a Templar unit, where we are able to take these old art items and again reuse them. These boxes have never been used previously, especially the units starting from 1934 onwards. They have never been used. I've had debates and discussions with certain people who claimed these boxes have been used for creation of accounts and currencies, but they could not give any proof or evidence that where exactly these boxes were used, because these boxes were transported on this earth in 1959, 1960, 1961, during those years only, and they became available in certain treasury bunkers, in certain banks. We have the complete audit available to us, the shipping manifest, the invoicing for the boxes, when they were purchased, by whom. All the paperwork exists to our courthouse, exists in our court, exists to the benefit of our courthouse, which holds the complete receivership of all these boxes. So no matter who you are, where you're from, one way or the other, you'll have to come back to the court to obtain the court clearance letter. And then the court grants the US Capital Private Bank a special permit with introduction of any boxes, and the US Capital Private Bank is able to issue an SKR for any of these units together with the gold backup confirmation. So the accounts, the box units and the gold, these three things have to be matched in order to assess the complete value. If the gold is missing, and if the accounts are missing and you are only holding the box, you may not be able to conduct the clearance of any of the articles. This is where we in the court come in. For example, Dato Zari is handling a number of units. Let's say in the office we have 7 units, and at his special custodial place he has 20 boxes more. Even if you take them to the Federal Reserve and the US Treasury, they will not redeem it. They don't have the cash to redeem it. But we have the cash. We have the cash and we have the gold to match. The moment we can match, automatically the entire redemption starts. The purview under which this is done is essentially what we call the icjglobal.org. The icjglobal.org is the main United States Treasury Board and the Federal Reserve System. Some say that the Mellencamp unit or the Burbanks units are also counterparties to it, but we have to see all that based on the documents that are available to us. The purpose of using these boxes and creating new accounts which are fully certified by gold essentially is done to create more liquidity in the market. And liquidity is what is missing. There is no new cash in the system. And when we talk about conducting implementation of very major projects throughout the world, very major infrastructure projects, it is top priority for us to start redeeming now, bringing all the things together, and we are able to provide all the necessary paperwork in order for you to have the clearance. So once we draw up the bank statements, once we draw up the SKRs, once we draw up any bank confirmation letters, that we can coordinate with other banks who will monetize or work together, then under that purview the redemption can occur. And after all the paperwork is done, thereafter the real work that we do is set up these special accounts and then work with the comptroller of currency, normally associated with certain central banks and their printing units. Because the central banks are the note issuing authorities, right, together with their counterpart units, what they need is these articles which are audited, they need the accounts information, and they need the gold backup certification. Then you see any central bank, any government, any nation can print currency legally and lawfully. Without all of these paperwork being there, if the paperwork is not there and you only have the box units, you only have some accounts related with gold, you cannot use. So what we are offering is the entire package structure for redemption, and the US Capital Private Bank currently is handling all the necessary redemption procedures, and I am directly supervising that. It doesn't mean that other banks cannot be redemption banks. If we are talking on the subject of Malaysia, we take the top 7 biggest banks in Malaysia, and if we go into a partnership or discussion with them, whether they will choose to become redemption bank partner with the US Capital Private Bank and with the ICJ Global System, then yes, we can then grant the license to any local bank here in Malaysia. And it is but natural, whatever numbers we bring from the redemption and settlement of these units, those numbers are so huge in billions and trillions and quintillions, quadrillions and quintillions, that those numbers have to be attached with a central bank. Only a central bank is able to use such large volume numbers. The primary banks or the prime banks, the commercial banks, don't have the license to cover this big number. They normally have the license going up to any numbers of hundreds of billions, or maybe just 1 or 2 trillion, or up to 5 trillion maximum. You don't hear of the commercial banks or the prime banks engaging in these unless they have been given the right to redeem, the license to redeem, and the necessary appointment or approval letters to redeem. So the US Capital makes it a point that when talking with other banks or the Ministry of Finance, central banks, we support the entire paper trail. And when we have the paper trail, then this can be settled in 1 week. It's fully settled and the money becomes available. But it does require a lot of coordination with America, with China, with India, the courthouses, the courts related with all these countries. Only from the court then you can apply for redemption in the banks. Currently, we have everything available to us in US Capital and in the international court system. So, for example, if we handle a fund of 1 trillion, which is a stated numbered account, but it's not just the numbers, those are gold backup numbers. And when we have the gold backup together with any credited or accredited estimated valuations of the boxes, it is then everything comes into compliance. And what we have today with TUV Capital is a very advanced stage where we are moving forward with the banking paperwork to give the clearance to the ministry or to the central bank, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Justice, or the central bank units and the other primary banks that work with the central bank to determine how much money we need to support the new economy of Malaysia, to support the new sovereignty of Malaysia. Because Malaysia is one country, now there are over 200 countries all over the world. So, in determining that already there is a 33 nations committee, a 33 nations in project implementation to build housing. And housing is very critical in the developing nations or the underdeveloped nations. There are not enough houses. There is not enough agriculture. There is not enough food and water. There is not enough shelter. There is not enough clothes for people to wear, except in advanced or developed nations you have everything. But in the developing nations or underdeveloped nations, these things are luxury. And then the cash comes in, because we are being compliant to all and everyone's requirements. And now we expect that others will comply with our directives or requirements, what we say and how to do, what to do. Nothing can be done instantly. We must wait for the proper time to bring together the parties who are going to be part of the whole project, the whole venture. And at the moment we have those parties. Once we redeem even amounts of 1 trillion or 2 trillion or 4 trillion, we redeem, and that money can flow into the new economies. It can come into the World Bank unit. It can come into the United Nations unit. It can come into the African Development Bank board. It can come into the Asian Development Bank board. It can come into the whole World Bank board. You know, these kind of big numbers. And from there, you take, you know, the pie is very big and you give to everyone. It's like eating a cake, but small, small pieces. You're able to give and make people happy and satisfied. We will definitely work with the Malaysian government and also talk with the Malaysian government and the ministries to, first of all, from our side, give them a redemption license, so that after you get the redemption license and the approval and the appointment letters, you can conduct as much redemption you want to do without feeling that there is somebody always trying to stop you. There's really not many people who are trying to stop you. Only at some times there are some very special groups. They also want to help, but they want to make sure that the procedures and the guidelines are followed. In Malaysia, I am very comfortable because Malaysia can understand our language. Malaysian people can understand our language, what needs to be done. Although we have set up for the last 1.5 years or almost 2 years, we have set up a mechanism with China government to settle the entire 303 Kunshan era bunker. That bunker is very, very large. But the bunkers from Philippines, for example, that we have brought under US capital with the full gold backup, without any litigation involved, because we are the court, and the court itself is jointly owning the bunkers, and the court is able to underwrite, you should have no problem, right? Anytime Datu Zari requires any court letters or the bank letters from US capital, it is available. So you can imagine the long wait. From 1933, now we are in 2017, we have actually gone ahead and conducted redemption. We've already conducted the procedural guidelines. This is a huge, this is like 70, 80 years. That if we are able to realize in monetary terms, in liquidity, in to remove the market crashes, but to infuse new liquidity, and should we all succeed in this mission, then I will say this is too good to be true. It is truly good, and it is truly true.